Hi, I'm Karen Stever, GGS Pro Technical Specialist. Today in this short video, I'd like to talk to you about summer weeds. I'll present some of the most common and problematic summer weeds, and at the end I'll present a list of pre-emergent herbicides that are relatively safe to use over or in around crops for the prevention of these weeds. First summer weeds to appear are those that are carrying over from the winter, whose germination really is not bounded by the seasons. And some of those examples are shown here. This list is not all inclusive, but bittercress, oxalis, groundsel, and mare's weed shown here are all winter weeds that continue to germinate through the spring and summer. Now I'm going to start our discussion of true summer weeds with some weeds that are prostrate mat forming. And one of the most ubiquitous and troublesome weeds in that category are multiple species of spurge. It's found practically everywhere. Very low growing, mat forming, will choke out short plants. This is a very prolific seeder. Purslane is another very common summer weed. Its succulent stems are somewhat prostrate. It forms a nice mound covering the plants and blocking out all the light. And I would also like to use this picture to point out one of the other dangers of weeds besides sucking your nutrients is that they harbor insects. And we can see here that these weeds have caterpillar damage. So there's nothing to keep those from moving right onto your desirable crops as well. Doveweed is another one of these prostrate problematic weeds. It roots from its stems into the ground, so when you pull it, you leave parts behind that are effectively new propagals of it. It has a lavender three-petaled flower shown here that's useful for identification. Doveweed can be a problem not only in lawns, but in containers and in production areas. I've thrown Virginia buttonweed in here, although it's primarily a lawn weed, but because it's easily confused with the doveweed. The difference is that the buttonweed has a four-petaled flower, which can be either white or lavender color. However, the buttonweed is much less controllable than the doveweed with pre-emergent herbicides, so you want to be able to distinguish between these two weeds. Eclipta is our last weed with that prostrate nature to it, but Eclipta also has upright stems as shown here, showing the habit. In the close-up of the flower, we see that it has a composite daisy-like flower. This white flower is nearly spent, but just behind it there you see the forming seed head, that round green ball. That is definitely an identifying factor for this weed. Moving to the more upright weeds, we see here on the left Gallon Soca. That is a common weed. It's prolific seeder. It forms dense stands wherever it seeds. And that is found commonly from the mid-Atlantic north and west towards the middle of the country. If you're farther in the south, you're more likely to encounter mulberry weed, shown here on the right. Has a somewhat similar leaf shape and serration, but a totally different flowering habit that can help you to identify those. Species of Philanthus are problematic weeds across the country. In southern locations, you might be more likely to have the chamber bitter shown on the left. Chamber bitter flowers and seeds underneath the stems. In northern locations, you're probably more likely to see the long-stalked Philanthus shown here, which flowers and seeds up above the stems. Willow herb species are another very common weed. Different areas of the country will be more likely to see one or the other of these. The northern willow herb shown on the left, and the hairy willow herb shown on the right. More likely in the western areas, the northern willow herb, very common in the north and east. Well, after that brief introduction to just a few of the common summer weeds, I have here a list of pre-emergent herbicides that can be used for their control. These herbicides are not the only products that will be effective on these weeds. However, they are, once again, some of the safest to use around your crops and in your crops in many cases. It's never more important than it is with herbicides to read and follow the entire pesticide label. Herbicides are plant killers. We just want to use their selectivity to kill the weeds and not our plants. The labels on them change as new information becomes available or minor changes are made to the product, so you always want to check your labels carefully and read through them each time you apply the product. And I want to emphasize again, products other than those mentioned here may be safe and effective on some crops. Well, thanks for watching this short video. We certainly couldn't include all the weeds or all the products in the time frame allowed. So if you have any questions about your weeds or products that you might be using or want to use, please give us a call at the extension shown below, or send us an email at ggsprotech@griffinmail.com. If you have any other suggestions or videos you would like to see, also send us an email. We'd be happy to consider your request. Thank you and have a great day.